Hello and welcome back to Survey of Biology, and this is section 4 of Unit 8, our last section on population dynamics. And what we're going to look at today are age pyramids and how they describe a population, whether it's increasing, decreasing, or remaining stable. And the age pyramids we're going to look at are all for human populations, so either of the world or country by country. And if you look at the diagram that's up on the board right now, here's what age pyramids represent. They will be broken up by age. So we can see down here we've got the population from 0 to 4 years. The females will be on one side, usually the right, the males will be on the left, and there'll be the percentage of population. So if we look at the females in the 0 to 4 age category, they make up about 5.5% of the population, and males in the same category make up about the same. So now if we go up one, we've got the 5 to 9 age category, and we can see, looking at that, both of those make up about 4 3/4 of the population. And as drawn here, as we go up, the percentage of the population in the older age groups gets smaller and smaller. And as drawn here, it is pretty symmetrical. The age, the percentages of males versus females are the same. And we're going to see that's not always the case. In many cases, females have a longer life expectancy. So as we get into the older categories, we may see the females making up a larger percentage. But you just need to understand that it's broken up by, on the y-axis down the middle by age group, and on the x-axis by the percentage of the population that that cohort is representing. So here's an example of another one. You can see again, we've got percentages on the bottom. We have, it's not labeled, but we would have female on the right, male on the left. And in the 0 to 4 population, you can see that just about 3.5% are female and about the same are males on the left. Now, if we look, and this one looks relatively symmetrical as well, but the point again now, but if you look at the top, look at the 85 plus, you can definitely see that there are more females than there are males in that population as it gets older. Now, usually it's broken into 3 parts. If we look, usually the offspring, or the age groups that are kind of pre-reproductive, they're called the juveniles. So those are the ones that are not having children yet. Then we've got the middle group, and this is usually the ones that are in kind of the women that are in childbearing age or of the age where they're going to have children. That's the reproductive group. And then finally we've got anyone older than that, the post-reproductive group. And as we look at these pyramids, certain shapes are going to tell us certain things about that population. So if we look at this, if we look at the far left, here's Kenya. And here's your classic kind of pyramid structure. You can see that you've got a steeply sloping side. On both sides, you've got lots of individuals in the juvenile or pre-reproductive. And this is an indicator of rapid growth. Those individuals that are in the pre-reproductive or juvenile are quickly going to move up and become reproductive, and the population is going to grow very, very rapidly. You can see the United States. Here, it is kind of a pyramid structure, but the sides aren't nearly as steep. So here's an example of a country that's undergoing slow growth. So the steeper the pyramid, the faster the growth. And if we look at, here is Italy. And this one, to some extent, if we look especially at the bottom, is almost a inverted pyramid. That is an indicator of 0 growth, or potentially even a decrease in growth. And we'll look at a couple countries, Italy being one, Japan being another, whose populations are actually going down, and we'll see that the age pyramids represent that as well. There's fewer individuals in that pre-reproductive or juvenile category that are going to move up and become reproductive. So their population has either stalled, is stable, or could even be declining. And as we just look at a couple more examples in the shapes, again, if we look at the lower left, kind of over here, we can see that classic pyramid that shows very high growth, and this is Angola in 2010. And over on the right, here's Japan that I talked about before. And while it's not perfect, it does have that kind of inverted shape that shows that the population is declining. So if we look at the diagrams on the top, and again, we've got the females in purple on the right, the males in blue on the left, and here's a rapidly expanding population, that classic pyramid shape. Here is an expanding one, probably not quite as fast. We've got stationary, so it's a stable population, and contracting, we can see that this juvenile down here, we've got that inverted shape to it. And finally, here's a diagram that shows the Dominican Republic from 1975 to 2005, projected ahead to 2025. And just by looking at the shapes of these pyramids, what do you think is happening to the rate of population growth in the Dominican Republic? Yeah, it looks like it's slowing down. So if we go back to 1975, here's our kind of classic rapid growth formula. There's our pyramid like this. Now in the middle we've got still a pyramid, but the sides aren't nearly as steep. And finally, when we get to 2025, it looks like population is slowing down. So there's a lot going on that we can tell from the shape of these age pyramids as we go through. And I think here's our last one. I believe this is the United States. But again, what's happening here? We can see that in 1970, there's relatively slow growth. Some 1990, we're getting almost straight up and down, so it's becoming more stable. And in 2010, it has become a very, very slowly growing population. So as we look at these pyramids, we can see a lot from them and get an idea of what's happening to the population. We can talk about things like doubling time that we have in the past and look at that. So what we're going to do now is, if we go, there's a website here that will let us look through the years at the shape of different age pyramids. So here is Kenya in 1950. Now, what do you think is happening to the population for Kenya back in 1950? And they tell us that it was 6,076,000. And we can see as we go through the different age classes, it'll give us the percentage. Well, it looks to be a pretty steep, quickly increasing. So if we jump ahead to 1970, look what's happening. The base of that pyramid is flattening out. It's becoming even steeper. So if we follow that along here on the graph on the right, and we can see that. So now the population is up to 11 million. Let's jump ahead to 1980. Now we're up to 16 million, and we can see that steepness at the bottom. This is a rapidly increasing population. 1990, look what's happening. 2000. Now it's slowing down a little bit, we can see. And 2010, 2025, projecting into the future, and all the way up to 2045, we can see that it looks like it's going to be slowing down. So there's a great example of a country that is increasing very, very rapidly in the past and right now that could be slowing down. Let's take a look at Italy that we talked about before. And let's go back to 1950. So here it's got a kind of pyramid shape. The population is growing. What are these little dents right in here, do you think? Why is there a dent on either side? Now, that's probably World War II and all the individuals that were killed during that. So 1950, let's jump ahead to 1970. Becoming more stable, maybe not growing that much at all. 1990. Now look what happened to the base of that pyramid. It's almost pinched off there. 1990, let's go ahead to 2000. Let's go ahead to 2015. So, basically a year from now, look at this. It's very, very inverted shape. Population, Italy is actually declining. And if we look at this graph over here on the right, we can see that that line is dipping down. And as we go ahead to 2045, look at the shape of the pyramid. There's this big bulge. They're going to have a much older population with relatively few younger individuals. Let's take a quick look at Japan that we talked about already, and let's go back to 1950. There's, our classic kind of increasing population. 1970, we can see again, probably due to the world wars, the population went down. 1980, 1990, 2000, and look at the inverted base of that. 2010 or 2015, basically today, and if we project ahead, 2045, it's shaped very similar to what we see in Italy, and we can see from the graph over here on the right that they're projecting the population of Japan to continue to decline. And as the last one, let's look at the United States real quick. And again, let's go back to 1950. And not very fast increase, but you can see there's a pyramid shape there. 1950, let's jump ahead to 1970. And the shape changes. 1980. Look at the base now. We just had, so there's kind of a bulge. And what do we call this bulge in the population right here as they move through? Does anyone know? Well, these are the baby boomers. And as we go through 1990, we can see that bulge move right on up through 2000. Look at them go right on through. So 2010, 2015, so basically present day, and we can see that baby boom, they're heading into retirement age, and the population in the United States is getting older. Let's see what they say is going to happen. 2030 and all the way at 2045 for the United States. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a background of what age pyramids can do for us, how they work, and the information and the data that we can get by examining the different types of age pyramids. So again, if we remember, if we go back and we look, I'm going to go back to this one, and very steep pyramids are going to show rapid increase. Relatively flat pyramids, like the middle one here, shows slow to no increase, and the inverted pyramids will show a decrease in population. So once again, thanks for your time, and we will talk to you soon.